All right, I have said it once and I will say it again. The threat to our democracy is ongoing, and it seems a group of historians agree. The Washington Post reported historians privately warned President Biden that America's democracy is teetering. I now want to bring in one of those historians who was in that meeting, Sean Wilentz. He is an author and contributor for the New York Review of Books. Okay, Sean, we are going to get to that White House meeting in just a moment. But first, I do think that we need some historical perspective on what we are seeing with former President Trump. Is there any precedent for how the country should deal with the former president having top secret documents in his home?
Well, first of all, Symone, it's a delight to be here and to meet you this way. No. The answer is no. What other former president has taken the Fifth Amendment 417 times? Everything about that presidency and the post-presidency has been extraordinary. So, the answer is simply no.
It is extraordinary. I mean, as I started the show, we keep talking about the term unprecedented, and this is all absolutely unprecedented. And I think something I've heard people describe that's unprecedented is this particular threat to our democracy. And you were one of the historians in this August 4th meeting with President Biden. Now, the Washington Post says that, let me just read this, that you all compared the threat facing America right now to what was going on before the Civil War and the pro-fascist movements for World War II. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, that's a lot.
This is a big deal, and there are these three moments. The Civil War. What holds them all in common is that there's not just a threat to American democracy from within, but it's part of a global crisis. In the 1850s, there was a lot going on in Europe. Democracy was in retreat. There was a lot of reaction, revolutions of 1848, all the rest of it. It's a global crisis. It was a global crisis in the 1930s amidst the economic collapse and the rise of fascism and Nazism in Europe. Well, we have a global crisis today. So that's number one. That's what makes this in part so extraordinary. But secondly, it really comes down to a matter of legitimacy. I mean, what's happening now, and this goes to the FBI stuff and all the rest of it, what Trump has done is to call into question the legitimacy of basic American democratic institutions, the things that we all have relied on. Elections, starting with elections. But now, right to federal law enforcement. I mean, the very institutions that we count upon as Americans, that are part of our, have grown out of our Constitution, Declaration, Constitution, all the rest of it, that have grown out of that. He is now calling that into question. He is now saying that the government, is illegitimate, that it is a regime rather than the American government. I mean, this is coming treacherously close to revolution, in my view.
Sean, does this then top your list of concerns? Is that what you all told the president?
Well, I can't get into details about what we told the president and what we didn't. But speaking for myself, yeah, I mean, it's very worrisome. Not just the stuff that's going on around Donald Trump, but what's going on inside the Republican Party. The ways in which, the machinations to try and make sure that the vote will be counted in a particular way, that giving state legislatures, for example, the possible power to negate the power of the voters, the outcome of the vote in various states. This is really very dangerous, and it presages not a revolution so much, but a kind of permanent tyranny of the minority, and all of these things are kind of going on at the same time.
So give us some hope then, John. I mean, can you think of a time in history when our country or another democracy that they peacefully pulled itself out of a situation such as this one?
Well, peacefully, not always, but out of it, yes. I mean, we did get through the Civil War. It caused terrible destruction and life and treasure, but nevertheless, it was settled. And in that case, the right side won. We got through the 1930s. We survived. The thing that makes me most concerned today is that there was no internet in 1860, 61. There was no social media in the 1930s. We are now in a situation where back then, we could argue about things, but we'd all agree about facts. We can't agree about facts now. And that is what those are the most concern to me. And where I, as an historian, I always say I don't have a crystal ball, I look to the past. But here, that makes the past a much less clear indication of what might be to come. Now, in the end, it's going to be up to the voters. and the voters are the bedrock of American democracy. They are the ones who have to choose people who are going to try to stop this delegitimization. But, easier said than done. I hope it will happen. I think it will happen, but I can't guarantee a thing.
The people have the power here, Sean. Sean Willens, thank you very, very much, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.